Record. Hello, everybody. Welcome. By the time you're seeing this video, it's going to be November. Can you believe that we've gone through our gratitude month? Like, that's insane. I don't even know where October went. I just went through a big move with my family into my in-laws' basement before, like it's an in-between before we get our new house. But there's been a lot going on for me. So I just can't believe I'm talking November here already. That's just kind of crazy to me. But welcome to episode 15, everybody. Can you also, episode 15, wow. So we're going to be talking about lying today. And I'm sure this is something every parent comes across, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic. If you're new here, if you haven't met us, I'm Angie. This is Natalie. And I'm the creator of Journey to Soul. And I've just, I'm a mom. This is why I like to have conscious parenting conversations. I'm a mom. I'm somebody who is dedicated to awakening and really uncovering truths and deprogramming what this world has taught me and taught, my parents before me and grandparents before me. And I do this a lot through conscious conversation. And so that's why I love bringing this to everyone. But yeah, I gather women in community, and I love to share anything that's on my heart, my own path, any tools. I've spent a lifetime developing tools that work for me, and I love to share that with people, because if you can experience the benefits that I've experienced in my life, Natalie and I were just talking about this, then it's worth it. If one person can benefit the way I have benefited in my life, then it's worth it to share it, to put myself out there. And so that's what I do. And I, as a mom, I'm a mom to a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old. And all these topics that we bring to you are things that we're navigating in our own life. And so we don't bring it to you to preach at you. We bring it to you to have a conscious conversation about, so that we can all explore how we're navigating these and how we're approaching these topics. And so lying is a big one that I'm experiencing in my reality right now. And so I look forward to this. And I'll let Natalie introduce herself and we'll get started.
Hi guys, I was gonna say good morning, good evening, whenever you're watching this in this now moment. Good now moment.
Good now
Maybe that should be
moment.
the expression, eh? Yeah. My name's Natalie, like Angie had mentioned. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm so happy that you're joining us. And I'm really excited about this conversation about this topic around lying. Should have some interesting points. But for me, myself, I'm an intuitive writer. And like Angie said, I mean, a lot of my writings, a lot of my teachings come from what I'm experiencing right now. And a lot of these conversations come from just what we're experiencing, right? Because we're all, no matter where we're at in our spiritual journey, we're constantly learning, we're constantly expanding, right? So I just love having these conversations. I love teaching these topics about consciousness and awareness, and putting it into action myself, right? I mean, what Angie and I discuss here, we're not talking out of our asses or anything. Like we're actually applying it to our lives too, right? And often I'll rewatch these conversations and I'm like, ooh, that's a good reminder. Even if it was like, something 4 or 5 months ago, it's always applicable. And often when it pops up on your feed or your YouTube homepage, it's an old video from us 6 months ago, just click on it, because that's the universe saying, hey man,
You
that
need
question
this.
you've been asking, maybe that answer's in here. So I know there's going to be some great content and some great sharing in this conversation today.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so thank you, Natalie. And thank you everyone for being here. Anyone who listens anytime. I love that you said anytime you listen to this. It's timeless content, right? It's human. It's what being human is about, and being a human mom is about, being a human parent. Lying. So I want to talk a little bit about this. So it's really showing up in my reality with we have a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old. And it's really hard as a parent. So here's the thing. As a child, I was accused of lying several times, and I didn't feel like I didn't understand why I was being accused or made to feel bad that I was lying, like as if it was an intentional action, right? And there were times, and so I struggle as, as a conscious parent to not just assume that my child is lying.
Yeah.
And so we're having this struggle with electronics right now. And it seems like we take the phone away and it gets found and taken back. And there's missing pieces in between that. And so when we approach it gently because we don't want to just accuse, right? And this is both my husband and I. We don't want to accuse that it's been taken, right? That they're being dishonest and taking it. And then when we say something, um this, like, I didn't touch it, I didn't do it, but it's like, who else could have touched it? I don't, you know what I mean? Are you lying? And then sometimes there have been moments though that we've found it and it's like, oh wait, did I put it down here instead?
Yeah.
Because we're human, this happens, right? And so
Yeah.
we're navigating it, but now we're at a point of like, there's been several coincidences like this that now we're second guessing and questioning if they're lying.
Yeah.
And what do you
Well,
do?
because you are asking yourself, are they actually lying? How do I navigate this? And then life, the universe is showing you
Yeah.
in those instances, those coincidences, right?
Yes. Yes, right. And because we can create whatever it is we're, you know what I mean? We're thinking what we're focusing on.
Yeah, maybe you had the thought, maybe they're not lying.
Yeah.
And then life manifests that, right?
Right.
That, yeah, maybe they're not. That maybe you just put it down somewhere. Like I'll do that sometimes. I'll put down like my book or my phone somewhere where I don't usually put it.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, ah, no, it'll be fine. I'll remember where I put it. Yeah, like 5 hours later, I'm like, where's my epic? Where is this? Has anyone seen this? And then that tendency of blaming someone else, right,
Yes.
for our foibles, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Uh,
And that's it. Like, this started for me. I'll tell you one incident, like, the Terry Fox run with the schools, right? They collect toonies for Terry, and I had put two toonies into an envelope for my 10-year-old to bring to school, and give to the teachers. And then I came into her room and the envelope was torn and on her bed. And I was a little like, and she had just gone to the store to get candy too. This is, so it's like immediately, what's the immediate thing? The adults fast, right? We're fast. We immediately put two and two together, like, oh my God, she stole the money. Like, and now she's lying about it. And so what happened was, okay, so the lie hasn't happened yet. I say to her, like, what is this? Right. And I was like, did you give the toonies? And like, didn't skip a beat, quickly said, well, yeah, I did, but we're not, they take their garbage home. Right. So, and this
oh,
is true. This is actually very true. They do. They
yeah.
take their recycling and their garbage home. And so she was
Mm,
like, yeah, the teacher opened it up, took the toonies and sent back, and her backpack was beside the paper. So it's very possible she just pulled everything out of her backpack and so it was on there. And so I was like, that was the first moment of consciousness for me of like how I made an assumption that she's lying. But then I was like, the conscious me steps back and goes, oh wait, that could really be true.
yeah.
Even though,
You gave yourself enough space because you didn't immediately go into like the defensive blaming, right?
yes,
Maybe there was a hint of tone in it in your voice when you're like, what's this?
yes,
But you still gave yourself enough space that your awareness could like sneak in and be like, okay, hold on, human Angie.
yeah,
Yeah.
I see how you could put this together, but it is very true that they take home their garbage and recycling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like that was the moment. And obviously the universe has invited me because there's been other incidents right after this, one after the other. And so
Oh,
it's
interesting.
tough to, yeah. And so it's tough. And it's been interesting to put Kyle and I together on this, right? And us having these conversations. And And even him saying, so he deals with it sometimes, we're trying to both navigate it together, which is really interesting. And so he approaches it. We don't want to just dole out a punishment based on our assumption. That's what being conscious to me is.
Yeah.
I don't want to just assume you're lying because
Yeah.
you are not your behavior. Number one,
Yes.
our children are not their behaviors. And
No.
so to shame them,
That's what we're trying to move away from, right? Shaming. Like, how
shaming,
often have you felt shame in your childhood and then you feel shame now,
yeah,
right? Like, we
yeah,
are doing, and I say this every freaking episode, but guys, we are doing so, so, so much for our kids.
yeah,
Even if you just apply one teaching that Angie's sharing with us, it's going to help your child tremendously throughout this whole life experience
yeah,
they're doing. Because we are just like spotting traumas, scrubbing it out, re-scripting. We're doing all these things. Like, not just one thing, across like the whole board. We are so freaking determined,
yes,
right? And that's what I love about everybody here.
yeah. Anybody listening to this conversation, you are doing that. And it's not easy work. You're deprogramming what's been programmed for so long. And you're making new choices, and you're what's the navigating uncharted like waters.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I feel about this. Like, I don't know how to navigate this. and
I know.
and what if they are lying? What if they are
Yeah.
lying? Okay, so here's the next piece. Like, what if they are lying? These are the things that go through my head, okay? What if she is lying,
Mhm.
and me going through this whole conscious thing with it, I'm not really addressing it. And so am I making the problem worse now? Does she, because what's the programming we're told? We don't let them get away with it. This is the
Yeah.
programming. We don't let them get away with it. And it's like, get away with what though? They're, you know what I mean? They're still learning different behaviors and expressions. What are they getting
Yeah.
away with?
Yeah. So
Is
a
the
couple of things
punishment
are coming
necessary?
in. Yeah, I mean, one of them, okay, let's talk about lying first, because this is the
Okay.
actual topic of conversation today. So, lying, in our definition of it, is telling something that's not true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious, but
Leah,
it's
here.
not true. Not true to who? Not true to who, right? So let's take your Toonie example, right? Or let's kind of change it a bit of um, maybe you put a $5 bill on
Mm,
your dresser or something, right? Or somewhere. And then you went to go get it a few minutes later, but it wasn't there, but you had seen, your daughter or your son or whoever come out of that general area, right? And then you inquire, you kind of maybe a line of questioning, right? A la detective. And then maybe they see something like completely ridiculous, like, oh, I didn't take it, or like, the fairy took it or something. And you're like, oh, you're freaking lying. Or like the cat took it. And you're like, you're lying. Like, there's no such thing as fairies, or we don't have a cat, right? Like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no cat. That's lying from the receiver's perspective. Ooh, this is fucking
yes.
good. This is lying from, but the lying is from always, always, always from the receiver's perspective, not the person saying the words or saying the story, from the person who is receiving it. Because maybe you don't see cats or fairies or whatever in your house. That's fine if you don't. That's fine if you
So that
do.
that's a
But
lie.
the child saw it. So it's maybe they did take it, or maybe it fluttered off the desk or the counter. But to like blatantly call out, oh, you're lying, that there's a couple things. I mean, first, just that, like let's just like the word lying just makes me feel cringy, right? I don't know about you guys, but it makes me feel like, oh, like very low vibe and like uncomfortable and like very defensive, right? So your child's feeling that, and then your child's like, and then you're like reinforcing the fact that maybe they have an imaginary friend that looks like a cat. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So we're always assuming that they're lying, but especially with like kind of non-physical imaginary things, right?
Mhm.
But maybe there was an invisible green cat that was like that they were playing with, and then the $5 bill roll, and who knows, maybe they pocketed the $5 bill, who knows, right? But so I mean, there's layers to this, right? So that's why it's so important not to assume, because there's like you blatantly labeling someone as a liar, but then there's like the underneath stuff, right? That like slowly builds and builds of like maybe they don't trust themselves, maybe they don't trust their imaginations anymore, right? Like you're like stomping them down, it feels like,
Yes, it
right? Does
is,
that make
yeah.
sense?
That's why it doesn't feel good to me, like and I love that you said this, lying, the word lying, like, to apply that to my children doesn't feel good. To
No.
call my child a liar, they are lying,
Yeah. It feels worse than
doesn't
lying, right?
feel good. It's like, maybe I just don't understand their truth.
Yes. Yeah. And a big thing with kids is they try out different personalities like Halloween
Yes.
costumes, right? So maybe they are lying, but maybe they're trying on that personality to see how it
Yes.
feels, right? And this is where the lines can kind of get blurry when you are awake and you're in charge of little humans, right?
Yep,
Because I don't look at the surface area anymore. I look at like, I dive deeper, right?
yep,
So sometimes, like you said earlier, it does feel like I'm not approaching that subject whatsoever. Maybe I'm not necessarily discussing lying or, the pros and cons of telling the truth and everything, but I'm diving deeper, right? Like in
yep,
that next layer, because it's like that's just surface stuff. That doesn't actually you could talk about surface stuff till, the cows come home.
yep,
But when you go into those deeper layers of like how does it feel when you lie, or how did it feel, like the deeper stuff, then you actually find a better solution for everyone
yeah.
instead of just like bitching and complaining about lying and then like bringing up all your old stories about, oh, like I was lied to by my first boyfriend, and you know what I mean? It kind of starts that spiral of stories. But it's not about you. It's not about your stories. It's about how are you handling this right now? How are you
Yes.
working with your child to find a solution? Maybe there is no solution. Maybe it's just an interesting
Maybe
conversation,
they just need to have the
right?
experience. That's what I've been
Yeah,
realizing, is maybe
yeah.
they just need
And
to
then
have the
yeah,
experience.
yeah. So approach it differently, right? Like really change your point of view about lying, of being like, well, maybe it is their truth. Because again, lying is from the of the perceiver, right? The receiver.
Yeah.
And then the flip side is maybe they're just trying on different personalities, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how are you? Yeah, that's fine. Just put it down on the bench. Sorry, we're kids are pumpkin picking. Um, yeah, and then ask yourself, how are you exploring this situation? Because if you explore it differently, even if you're just present with it and you don't actually say anything, even just being present,
Mhm.
maybe while the child is trying to like over explain themselves or something, you're just present. There's definitely going to be a different outcome. Maybe you open your car door 3 days later and then like the $5 bills on your dash. You're like, what the hell?
Whoa.
But I mean, this stuff happens, and these quote unquote coincidences happen because we get present with it, right?
Yep.
We don't like you don't make an ass of yourself. You don't make assumptions.
Yep.
You just
And
really
you don't
listen.
make it wrong. You
You
don't
don't
make
make
it
it
wrong.
wrong.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the invitation, and I love that you're even saying this, because the guidance I received, and it wasn't around the children, though, it was around my interaction with my in-laws, and the guidance that I received was silence. Silence. And I've been practicing it, and it's been really fascinating, the insight that I'm discovering, because I'm just staying silent. Doesn't matter what they say. I'm just staying silent, and I'm allowing the space for it. So now I'm seeing, so thank you for that reflection, Natalie, because now I'm seeing I can do that in this case too with my children, right?
Yeah.
Specifically with my 10-year-old. But just silence. Silence, because give the space, allow the experience to happen, allow them to come to their own conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to take charge of every situation,
Yeah,
right?
we don't
We
have to
think we
call it right or
do.
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
just
you don't have to
posted.
believe like, oh, one sec. No, but can you put it down there though? Because it's heavy, right? Yeah. Sorry.
That's
My
okay.
son had a pumpkin that weighs about as much as he does. I lost. my train of thought for the moment, so you can
Okay, I was just going to say, because I
yeah.
was talking about making it wrong, right? And I just posted a thing yesterday in my group saying, when we make them wrong, we actually make them less conscious. Like we push them away
Oh,
from consciousness. And that's a really
yeah.
like that quote hit me because I was like, "Oh my God." Like my very intention is to help people become more conscious. And so when I'm making someone wrong, what does it do? It shuts them down
Oh,
because no experience is right or wrong. So can we allow our children to have an experience and discover for themselves whether they like it or not? You know what I mean? Whether it feels
yeah.
good or not to them.
Mm.
It may not, and can we then navigate, like, I'm looking at this for myself, can I just allow myself to navigate it without making them wrong, without involving them even?
Mm, yeah. There's always
Because
something
this
going on with you, right? Like when you
yes,
immediately when you notice or you think that there's a possibility that
that there's
someone
a
lied to
lie.
you or someone that someone, turned the truth around a bit, like what does that feel inside of you, right?
Yes, go in.
If that doesn't feel good, go in.
It's an
Because it's not
invitation.
actually about whatever the words that person said, it's your response to it, right? So it's like, oh, like, why does this make me feel gross, right?
Yeah,
Or uptight, or,
yeah,
yeah.
and that
Yeah.
supports their consciousness then. It gives
Mm,
them time to have their experience. We interrupt
yeah.
their experiences all the time.
Yeah. By not being present, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so lying is just another one of those experiences. If I think about it, if I think about it, okay, I'm gonna like this is disclosure of me, right? I grew up in trauma. I grew up around lying. I grew up around all kinds of these behaviors and I played in them. I played in these behaviors. And so there were times in my life where I did lie. I very intentionally lied. And now I've done the work to face it. I've done the work to love myself through it. And so, can we do that? Like, can we trust? Because I'm the person I am today because I've done that work. I'm the person I am today because I've looked at these things that are labeled as wrong within myself. A lot of people won't look at it because it's labeled as wrong. So we won't look at it, right? And I've done that work. So can we, as parents, admit that to ourselves within our own experiences that we played in this and we've still turned out, you know, great. You know what I mean? I don't, I honesty and truth is one of my values, one of my top values. But there was a time in my life where I lied a lot for no reason too,
Yeah.
and
It
to
was just
hurt
a
people.
habit,
Yes,
right?
it was a habit. It was a programmed thing. It was what we
Yeah.
were taught. We were taught this.
Mm, yeah. To move away from the truth, right?
Yeah, to move away from
Yeah.
truth.
But you got
Yes.
to move into the truth of you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like it's so much yeah, it's a lot of perspective, and again, each experience, no matter how like awful it may feel in that moment,
Yeah.
it's because you had asked a question at one point, maybe not even consciously, and the universe is like, oh, okay, well here,
Yeah.
like how are you gonna work through it this time, right? If
Yeah.
you're like, people always lie to me, well, are you responding the same way?
Yeah.
You just have to respond a little bit differently, right? Even that pause, just practicing that pause, right?
Yeah.
Of like 5 seconds.
Yeah. That's
And
the
maybe bite your
takeaway.
tongue if you need like a physical, like I used to like
Right.
just like bite my lip or my tongue.
Yeah.
It was like, you shut up, like let the other person speak.
Yeah, with this silence, this guidance of silence, I literally imagine my hand going over my mouth.
Yeah.
Like I literally do that. I just, hand over the mouth and it's like as they're talking, I'm just like, "Mm."
Yeah.
Don't say a word. You don't have to say a word. Don't say a word. Just breathe. And so I think the biggest takeaway is that looking at that space, trying to create that space for yourself to look at your own response, choose to go within. And what you said, understand that lying, I wrote this down, is the perception of the receiver.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a
Yeah,
really
I
good
like
one. I wrote that down, like, and so how can we, and that's the invitation to reframe lying and how we perceive it, right? So thank you. This was a really valuable
yeah.
conversation for me.
We'll leave it
And,
there.
I think we can apply it to all kinds of different
Yeah,
behaviors, not just lying, lying, cheating, like,
yeah.
all these labels
Well,
we,
lying comes in so many different
yes, it
forms,
does.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Being sneaky, like there's all kinds of little things you can apply this to, but no matter what it is, it's your response that matters. It's your
it is your
response that has
response.
the gold, right? That has the gold for you if you
Yeah,
go within.
yeah.
And can we allow our children to just have the experience?
Mm.
Because here's something that's coming in quickly. This I was going to end this, but something coming in quickly is, can we allow them to have the experience? Because really, what if they were lying? Are we making that mean something about us? What if they are sneaking? What if they are cheating? Is the wound for us that it means something about us because we're their parent? This happens a lot, I think, with parenting.
Yeah. Yeah, do we feel that it's a reflection on us, right? Because I mean, automatically when you become a parent, that's kind of also the program, right? Which
Yes,
yes, yes, your external world, the people that you're around are a reflection of you, but like I say, it's not specifically, like if your kids cheat at card games, it doesn't mean that you're cheating at something. It's again, it's reflect the universe sometimes reflects to you what your response is to that behavior,
I was thinking more
right?
in terms of how other people see, other people
Oh,
looking in.
other
So
people,
other
how like
people
other
seeing your
people
child as a
see.
reflection of you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's why you have to
Yeah.
shut it down, because you have to shut it down because it's other
Oh.
people are going to perceive you a certain way.
Oh.
If your child's a
Yeah.
liar, if
Like
like,
you
oh,
can't raise
that's the
your kid
parent that has a
properly.
child that lies, or oh, that's the parent that has the child that hits people.
Yeah. And then you don't want
Anyway,
that
it's another
label,
layer.
right?
Yeah. It's another label to
Yeah.
explore within yourself if that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Because
Because
we
there's
do.
that belief in you.
Yes.
Because everything that you're thinking, whatever you're thinking that other people are thinking, isn't actually their thoughts.
Yeah.
It's your thoughts.
Yeah.
If that sentence made sense, you know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
you're sitting at the table and then your kid like blatantly lies or does something, let's say pick lying, and then you're just like, and then I don't know, maybe your father-in-law sighs or something, and you're like thinking to yourself, oh God, you know, he
They're
thinks like
gonna
I'm such
think.
a horrible mother because kid's always lying. But that's not his thought. That is your thought because you are thinking it, right? So
Yeah.
again, maybe that's the lesson, right? Of recognizing like that deeper layer of thought. Yeah. But yeah, maybe that's the invitation, right? Of again, like seeing for yourself, like your
Observing.
perception of, people are labeling me because of this other person's behavior. And maybe you're like, oh, I don't care about labels. But like you do because you recognized it somehow, right?
Yeah.
So explore that, right?
That's exactly it. And it's just, yeah, understanding that that might be why we're shutting it down. We're trying to shut it down so hard. We're putting so much
Yeah.
energy into trying to control that behavior in our child. It's
Yeah.
it's an extension of trying to control how others see us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, sit with this. If this is something in your experience, and what, even if it's not lying, if it's cheating, sneaking, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is you label as bad, go
Feeling,
within,
right?
feel into it,
Yeah.
feel into it,
Yeah.
allow yourself space to see it differently, to see it deeper beyond the surface
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, that was a great conversation. Thank you for
That
letting me
was,
throw that in.
yeah.
And please share, guys, if you like this content, like the video, subscribe, hit the notifications button so you'll know when we go live every Tuesday with the premiere video, and share it with people, other moms that could really
Yeah.
use, the feeling of kinship. I don't know, of like,
Yeah.
not being
Yeah.
alone in this
Kinship. That's a good
journey.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I love
Yeah.
you. Thank you for watching.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is such a great topic, right? One that kind of makes you feel crunchy when you
Yeah.
say the word mine, right?
Yeah. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reframe it, guys. You can do this. I promise you can.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Until
Well,
next
have a
video.
great, yeah, have a great evening, guys, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Yeah.